Hi, this is Brian with my adventure blog again. Today I'm going to tell you a story about when my wife and I went up to the White Mountains in New Hampshire and we climbed Mount Washington. This was back in 2005. It was over the 4th of July weekend. We started in the Pinkham Notch area, took the Tuckerman Ravine Trail up. It turned out to be a 7.5 mile round trip, much more difficult than what we thought. 70 degrees at the bottom, and we're expecting temperatures in the low 50s, upper 40s at the top, and the wind chill temperature was 20 degrees, so it was pretty cold up there. We were in full winter gear. Dave and I had been backpacking in the Rocky Mountains. I've been backpacking in Alaska, all over the place, and I have to say that this mountain reminded us more of mountains out west. Specifically for me, it reminded me of mountains in the Bighorns, and mountains that are approaching 13,000 feet. So it's a little strange to think a mountain so small, that's just over 6,000 feet in elevation, can be so difficult and challenging here in the east. Where we started in Pinkham Notch, up to the top, and it's a lot of rugged terrain. It's just over 4,200 feet in elevation gain. That was very steep because the trail itself was under 4 miles. That was a lot of climbing in a short period of time. Our calves were killing us the next day. It was very, very hard to walk. Mount Washington is surprisingly the 24th most prominent mountain in the lower 48. It sticks out like a sore thumb. If you remove elevation, Mount Washington is actually comparable to Colorado's Mount Elbert, which is their highest peak. Mount Elbert's vertical rise is about just over 4,700 feet. Mount Washington's is just over 4,600. Mount Washington's area above tree line is about 2,000 feet in elevation, and Mount Elbert's is about 2,500. So in terms of difficulty, both mountains are about the same. Although I'm comparing Mount Washington with Mount Elbert in Colorado, something that may give a better indication of how dangerous the weather is, Mount Washington's weather is actually worse than the weather on top of Mount Rainier on a pretty consistent basis. The average wind speed on top of Mount Washington is, on any given day, is 35 miles per hour. Now that fluctuates greatly. The maximum wind speed ever clocked there was over 230 miles per hour, which is basically a tornado. In fact, hurricane force winds blow for 1/3 of the year. Mount Washington's average annual temperature is only 27 degrees. As far as precipitation goes, Mount Washington gets 97 inches of rain and over 20 feet of snow. If you add that all up, some of the worst weather on the planet, large area above tree line, steep rugged terrain, you have a pretty serious mountain. And in fact, there's over 25 people that need rescued there every year. There's over 150 people that have died on Mount Washington. Even though you would assume that those people that need rescued are probably not very experienced, that's actually not true on Mount Washington. A good many of the people that need rescued actually are pretty experienced climbers themselves. I guess the point of the story is that Mount Washington, even though it's in the northeastern United States, is every bit as serious and as challenging as other mountains as far as hiking goes. Now there is a 7-pitch climb that you can take. You can hike up to that and then do an actual technical climb. So that aspect of it is pretty challenging in itself. Some people will actually drive to the top. You could take a cog railway to the top. So it gets a lot of tourists, a lot of visitors. There's a weather station at the top and also a small cafe if you need to eat something. So it's a little bit touristy, but the climb itself is difficult. It's a lot of fun though. It's a beautiful area, one of the most beautiful places in the east, and it's a great place to go for a hike. If you do decide to do Mount Washington, I would recommend boots instead of hiking shoes, unless your calves are like rocks. Also, you want to bring something in case you have to spend the night, in case something goes wrong. You want to have a lot of warm clothing, even in summer. So on these hot tropical days, it could very well be incredibly cold and snowing at the top. So you never know where you're going to get. The weather also changes very rapidly, and unlike other locations, you can't count on the weather forecast. So they might forecast one thing, and what you might get is a whole lot worse than what they say. And that's what got a lot of people in trouble on the mountain.